And welcome back to the movie breakdown Oscar preview special. I'm your host, Paul, the photographer, and my host, Ivan Carlos, the actor extraordinary. Welcome to the show, Ivan.
What's up, guys? What's up, Paul?
Nothing much. I'm really excited for this weekend and really excited
For
overall
the
for
Oscars.
the Oscars. And I think even though the Oscars aren't what they used to be, this year's lineup for Best Picture is incredible, and
I
the people
agree.
that are nominated for Best Actor and support and Best Female Actor are incredible. So we're gonna just go over top actor and top actress, and then we're gonna make our picks for top movie. So
Can we do something fun, Paul?
go for it.
Could we count to three, and then
Oh yeah,
at the top of three we say who should win Best Picture?
yeah, I would love that. I also think that we need to bet something on it. Are you up for like a $5 bet or $2 bet?
You're crazy.
No.
How about whoever is right buys lunch next time?
Oh, I love that.
Bet.
Okay, cool. All right.
So we're gonna do Best Picture, right?
Yes, but let's at least give our acknowledgement to the actors award and then the actress award. I know that
So
you haven't seen a couple of movies in the actress award, so I'm just gonna briefly go over it. Um, Julia, incredible. I mean, playing the role, the iconic role of the actress who plays from the Wizard of Oz. I mean, to play the role and sing all those songs and just absolutely blown out of the way is just incredible. Um, I know it's definitely something that you need to watch, and you're gonna be
which one are you talking about?
about Julia. Duh.
Do you mean Judy?
Judy. It's an absolute
Gotcha.
yeah.
Are you talking about Renee Zellweger?
Mm-hmm. It's an
Gotcha.
incredible, and it's actually about her last public performance. She dies 6 months after this, and it's about her last public performance in London, and she just absolutely blows that out of the way. They use prosthetics on her face to make her really look like the actual actress, and it's just incredible.
Interesting.
Um,
Interesting.
Bombshell,
Did they get into Judy Garland's blackface at all?
no, no.
Ooh, okay.
No, no. They do try to make her into the idea. They go into her big issue with drugs and food addiction problem where she would actually take medication to lose weight, and
Okay.
they stem it to the Wizard of Oz. Allegedly, the director made her take diet pills during the filming of Wizard of Oz, and ever since
I believe it.
she was addicted. So um, I'm not really up on, and I know that you weren't thrilled about this, but the young lady who's nominated for Little Women, I mean that movie is
Oh yeah,
just
I mean,
it's there's nothing special there. I mean, I didn't think her performance, to be honest, I'm gonna be blunt. It was great. I
I will
mean,
I will say she's a phenomenal actor.
yeah,
Oh,
it's
she's
not a
so
personal.
good.
It's yeah. I see that I hate about it's like because then
Yeah,
it
no, I
sounds like you're
feel you.
knocking. I just didn't think that was I think that another actress should have been given that nomination because being nominated is just like getting the Oscar. Um, I think the young lady who
Not
was
to the
nominated
person who wins
for
the Oscar, though.
huh.
I said not to the person who actually wins the Oscar,
Oh,
though.
I know, but but they also
Yeah,
say
exactly.
they do say the next morning it doesn't matter because up on into the next bigger better thing. So
Yeah, totally.
the young lady who was nominated and also the lead in Harriet, she did a great job. I know it's
Cynthia
not. Yeah,
Erivo. I
I know.
love
I know
her.
that you need to see that movie, so it's hard for you to comment on it.
Yeah, but I've also been following Cynthia Erivo since before the mainstream media knew who she was. Back when she was just on Broadway, she's amazing.
I mean,
She's a Broadway star. she's been on TV obviously, but I'm a huge fan of Cynthia Erivo.
I
So when I
personally,
saw that she was playing Harriet Tubman, I freaked out.
I mean, she came out of blue for me. I think
Yeah,
is this one of her first big major roles because I don't recall seeing this.
in film, I would say so, but she's been on Broadway and she's been in like international. She's English, so she's been kind of like touch and go, like huge projects around the world. And then her kind of most recent claim to fame for someone like me is The Color Purple on Broadway,
Gotcha.
where
Yeah,
I
I can
can't
definitely see her
remember if
doing
she
that
won the
role. Yeah.
Tony. Yeah, exactly. Very similar vibe. I can't remember if she won the Tony for that, but I'm pretty sure she was nominated like 2 years ago or last year.
Now that young lady in this role is iconic. I'm ashamed that I didn't know more about Harriet Tubman, and it really gave me a more concept of what Harriet Tubman um, is and what she did achieve. Because the photos we see of this old woman, but they really do explain that Harriet was a very strong, confident woman, and that movie's incredible. So you need to watch it, sir. We both watched The Marriage Story, and I mean that performance was incredible. Just a good old-fashioned 100% drama, real life, digging in the weeds kind of movie. I don't know another way of describing that movie. We both watched it, so you can comment on her performance.
Are you talking about Marriage Story?
Yeah,
I have seen Marriage Story.
as I said, you can comment on it
Um,
because
I
yeah,
don't.
this
I
is
don't think that. Um, I don't like. She was good. She was good, but I think, given what I know about Charlize Theron, Renee Zellweger, and Cynthia Erivo, I'm gonna say that the nominations for Best Actress for Marriage Story, Scarlett, and I think her name. What's her? Miss Ronan from Little
yes.
Women. I think that, not to say that they're going to be in the background, but in my personal opinion, I think that that award will not go to either of them.
Oh, I agree. I think her performance is kind of the more simpler one. It's a modern story where Shireen actually had all this plastic material on her face, and so did uh, um, Zagron for Julia. She had all that
Renee
plastic.
Zellweger for
Yeah,
Judy,
yeah, yeah,
and then Charlize Theron.
yeah.
Gotcha.
And they had to go through things. It wasn't just like they just shot the movie. They had to become that character. Um,
And Cynthia Erivo for Harriet Tubman. Not only is she playing one of the most iconic American like heroes of all time, but where we are right now in life, like
oh,
this movie is
it's
it's
very
a perfect
poignant
time.
time. Yeah,
It's the
absolutely.
perfect time. Not to say that she's a shoe-in for the Oscar, but I wouldn't be surprised at all, even though I haven't seen it, for Cynthia Erivo to be the one who wins it.
Um,
Unless it's not the best acting and I'm wrong, because I will say that some of the movies that are nominated for Best Original Picture or Best Picture, who I was told were phenomenal movies, I was slightly disappointed in. So take that with a grain of salt.
I honestly have seen all five movies, and I think that Renee's portray of Julie, um,
Judy Carlin.
Judy Garland was was the outstanding role here. So that's what I'm thinking is going to win.
Interesting.
Looking at the men, um, Joker, Phoenix, an incredible performance.
Joaquin
Yeah,
Phoenix.
an incredible performance. We both seen this movie, so if you want to throw in your
Yeah,
yeah,
I've seen the rest of the ones we're talking about.
um,
With Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker, I don't know why he's gotten so much slack for this part, because watching this movie, I was so impressed.
I really think it's just shows how incredible actor he is, and that from what I've heard, there might be a huge announcement regarding a sequel to that exact movie with him being coming back as comprising the Joker. So that might be
Interesting.
that might be
I would
kind.
definitely watch it. One of my acting mentors, who I is an actor who I really really respect, he was commenting on Joaquin Phoenix's performance, and he ultimately what he said at the end of his like little speech was that what Joaquin Phoenix did wasn't acting. And I was so conflicted, Paul, because I was listening to my mentor, someone who's like provided opportunity and growth in me as an actor, is looking at me and telling me that the person who I'm revering for this role isn't acting. And then I had to realize that, this is a very subjective thing. Everyone has an opinion for whatever reason. I personally think that Joaquin Phoenix is dope as heck. I think that he could totally walk away with this award. And I hear a lot about how he is as a person. I don't really know anything about that. I just do know that I think Joker was a phenomenal movie. One of the best, like, super villain movies I've ever
Oh,
seen.
I mean, a side note to that. I mean, most great actors are very kooky in their own way. It's what makes them a great actor. I mean,
Maybe, sure.
yeah, just because you can read off a teleprompter or remember lines doesn't make you a good actor. It's that intangible that that makes you that can't when it's just like what makes a gorgeous person. What makes a
Yeah,
gorgeous
and
person?
there's a
It's those
lot that goes
intent
into it.
right, and
There's
it's
a lot
hard
more than one thing.
exactly. So, of course, Leo is nominated for Best Actor for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I mean, what else can we say? It's Leo. I mean, he's incredible. It's just incredible. For
Yeah, I
Two
mean, Leo,
Popes,
Leo's Leo.
yeah. I mean, I think he did a great job. I just don't think he's gonna beat Phoenix.
I agree.
For
I think that the roles that also all of these men look white. Are all of them? No, Antonio Banderas.
yeah, I
This
again,
is interesting.
it's a really bad year again. There is,
Dang.
I don't
Yeah.
think that they need to have a rule, but I think there should be at least a accommodation that they need to have at least, they need to have maybe one group of movies, like maybe one best nominee for Asian movies, best actor be nominated in the best category,
Well, I mean, but
Mexican
even that system in
and
itself
black.
sounds like it could be really. That system itself sounds like it could be potentially, you know,
Insulting, I know.
and racist at the end of the day.
I
The only reason why I mention
it just it
the
to me
fact
it
that they're
looks
all
it
white is because because I'm looking at this list of white men, I'm comparing the list of white men, and I mean, like, not to say that Leo's character in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is the same as Jonathan Price's in The Two Popes, but as the same as Adam Driver's in Marriage Story. But now I've lumped them all in together because there's a lack of variety.
there's not
The
any.
character in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood isn't. This is why I say Joaquin Phoenix will win, because I think Joaquin's Phoenix's the Joker is a standout character, a special character, one that separates himself from the list. And Adam Driver in A Marriage Story, his character is very much the everyday man who's going through heartbreak. And Jonathan Price in The Two Popes, actually no, he is he. I don't know if he's he was pretty phenomenal. He was pretty phenomenal,
He
especially
was,
towards the
but he's
end when
also
they
supposed
talked
to in
about
that movie. He's supposed to be playing. He's supposed to be playing a.
he's Chilean.
Yeah, he's supposed to be. Yeah, he's supposed to be from South America. So, I don't
Yeah,
know what his actual ethnicity, but he's playing. He's currently playing the role of the current pope. So,
yeah. I
um,
mean, and he was good. Don't get me wrong. I don't know. I just think Joaquin will take it. I
well,
Antonio
I
Banderas
don't,
is
I don't think that's the
amazing.
argument. I mean, to be honest, I think that Phoenix's role was the one that, to me, I watched all these movies except for I honestly did not see this Pain and Glory movie. Um, I don't know how I didn't see it.
Yeah, I haven't seen Pain and Glory either, but
Um,
Antonio
my
Banderas is
yeah,
amazing.
uh, it's the one movie this year that I didn't think he was acting. Like, I think that he has those I think that every human being has these tendencies, and that
Oh, of
and
course.
that he just like he had that breaking point where he said, "Fuck it. If you want me to be the bad guy,
Are you
I'll
talking about Joaquin Phoenix?
yeah." And I think that's why I don't think it was acting. I think it was just like, "Fine. You want me to go there? I'll go there." And I think it was that's why to me it didn't feel like acting in any way. Um to me that Leo's definitely felt like acting, it was over the top, barbastic, grand. Just the ending where he takes the flamethrower and he uses it to kill the one of the people in his house. It's just over the top.
Also, not to say that like actors, because obviously Leonardo DiCaprio is at a point in his career where he can pick and choose whatever project he wants to do just because he wants to do them, and he's aligned himself with specific directors and
Mm-hmm.
producers who know exactly what his skill set is, so they write for him. Like that's like he's at a point. He's on another level. Obviously, he's Leo,
Mm-hmm.
but I wasn't really shocked by anything. I wasn't really. It's not one of those movies that I think um
Well,
challenges
they
how
say
I
that
view
there's
the
only
actor.
they say
You know
that
what I
there's
mean?
yeah, yeah, well, they say there's only 7 stories, and all 7 stories have been created. It's just it's the question is which which of the 7 stories are you going to move and change around? You know. So, um, I agree
So
with.
who do you think wins?
Oh yeah, well that I think we've been keep on saying it's Phoenix.
Okay, cool.
I'm,
So
but
we agree.
God, and like, guys, unfortunately, we did not get to see all these actors, so we're not betting on this, but we are betting on Best Picture because that is what we're actually here to talk about. I just wanted to give a rundown because um, to make a Best Picture, you need to have a Best Actor and a Best Actor and a Best Actress. So let's just go down the list of movies, okay? For
For
Best
Picture.
Picture, you have Joker, Little Women, The Marriage Story, 1917, Once Upon a Hollywood, Parasite, Ford versus Fiora, The
Sorry.
Irishman, and Jojo Rabbit. Now, how would you like to do this? Would you just like to give a little synopsis of every movie and go really quickly, or do you just want to go
Yeah,
directly to?
let's give like a quick like 20-second bite on each movie, and then after that we'll do the 3, 2, 1, pick which one we think will win,
Okay, so
and then we'll talk about it.
okay, so the first movie I'm gonna let you do the next one. Okay, I'm gonna do the first one. So the first one on my list is Ford
Yeah,
versus.
why don't you start with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
Okay,
and then we'll go on from there.
so it's supposed to be this over dramatic telling of Hollywood in the late '60s, early '70s. They even recreated street signs and actually redid entire streets just to look like that time period, and it's has a strong tie with the Manson family and what happened with those murders. So that's the brief
And
overall of
Leonardo
that.
DiCaprio and Brad Pitt star in
Yes,
this movie.
yeah. I mean, they only have the two biggest and most named actors, and
Yeah.
then they also have um, Mrs. Joker, farce. What's her name? I'm really bad with guys' names. I'm sorry. The young lady who's playing Harley Quinn as the.
What? Yes, yes, yes.
I'm really bad with names. Sorry,
Are you
guys.
talking about Margot Robbie?
Margot Robbie.
Yes.
So,
Sorry, I
I'm
messed up
sorry, guys.
names.
Okay. All right. So, and you're gonna take the next one.
Yep. So then let's move on to 1917. So 1917 obviously takes place in the year 1917. It's rated R. It's about 2 hours long. Um, and it's centered around this duo, two soldiers in World War I. They're stationed in Europe. They're fighting the war, and one of these young men is given the order to reach his brother a couple of kilometers away. I think it's a couple kilometers. Like they're far enough to be close. They're close enough to be close, but far enough to be far because they're in the middle of this huge world war conflict, and he's been given orders to reach his brother, to tell his brother and like this platoon of men not to engage with the opposition with force because it's a trap, and they have the night to get there. But as they're traveling, they're kind of reaching multiple like obstacles and like violence, and it's really sad. And
Well, you didn't even tell the best part is it's based on a true story.
it's based on a true story. Thank you.
Joker, starring Walking Phoenix, is about a man going insane from the point of being sick and then completely going insane, just losing his mind, and in my opinion, actually finding his true self, because some people are not meant to be good, some people are meant to be bad, and this is, in my opinion, a true story of someone finding himself in the right state that he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be an evil, manipulative, cunning, bad guy, and we see this person go from a very timid person to the most very smartest heart, just so evil person in the world. That's Joker.
Jojo Rabbit is about it's Nazi Germany during there are multiple timelines in the movie. So there's the part where he's the main character is a little boy growing up in Nazi Germany, and it kind of continues through until the end of the Second World War, the fall of the Third Reich, and the invasion of Germany. And this is a farce, and I was so intrigued by that when I heard about it. And Hitler is the imaginary friend of a little Aryan boy, growing up in Germany during World War II.
The Irishman is a movie about greed, corruption, the story of how they allegedly believe Jimmy Hoffa died, and all the stuff that goes behind it. Three major, incredible actors coming back to work with one of the best directors in the business. It is 100% a mobster movie. If you want to see lots of murders and some of the most incredible technology, facial de-aging, that's The Irishman.
Side point, I don't really want to do Little Women, so I'll let you do Little Women.
Okay.
Ford v Ferrari is about quite literally like it is in the title, a Ford versus a Ferrari in the 24-hour. What's the race called again? It's a
Ahmad.
Le Mans. Yes,
Lamont.
yes.
Lamont.
Is it? It's not Le Mans. Is it Le Mans?
Lamont. It's Lamont.
It is Le Mans.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's where these two super fast cars are racing, and there's it's Matt Damon and Christian Bale, and they kind of form this like duo team where they kick ass and they take names and ultimately build a beautiful and fast machine that defies physics and like goes to Le Mans to take on like the systemically victorious Ferrari in this race. And yeah,
again, another incredible movie that's
another
a true story.
Yeah, a lot of yeah, that's really cool.
Little Women, which is actually based on an original book about 4 women and their mom trying to survive while their father is not home. Just a typical great movie about women being independent and being able to survive, set in the, I believe, early 1800s, I believe is the term. They never really give us a time frame, but it looks like 1800s, and their life and how things evolve and how things may or may not go their way. That's Little Women.
Parasite is also rated R, 2 hours and 12 minutes, and is about. Oh, I don't want to give too much away. The main kind of plot line of Parasite is there are two families, and the family that we follow more directly is a family of con artists, essentially, in South Korea. Correct? Yes, South Korea.
Yes.
Um, and kind of their process of taking over other people's lives via employment, identity, and why they are the way that they are. Parasite.
Marriage Story is about a divorce and how that divorce will completely either make you into a great person or completely crush you, and how a marriage can evolve in multiple areas, meaning being living in different countries, living in different states, and all the things that are comprised of that. So that is the Marriage Story. One of the things I do want to note is kudos to Netflix.
Yeah.
Out of the 9 nominations they have 2 in the movie of the year, and out of the 5 for Golden Globes they had 3. So very kudos to Netflix for making
Yeah.
2 or 3 of the most well liked movies of the year. So I definitely want to give because Netflix in no way is a major studio. So and they do not have the budget. So that I think that just proves that if you can just have a good story, you can get a nomination by your peers.
Let's also not ignore the fact that Netflix does have a lot of money. They might not have like
But they don't
the
have the money that Disney does, dude, in any way, or
yeah, but
Warner
are any of
Brothers, or
Disney's? Oh yeah, not Warner Brothers at all. But I don't think anything nominated is Disney. I don't know. I think that
yeah, you're
they were
right.
really strategic. They were really strategic in the people that they brought in, and they knew that they wanted Scorsese on Irishman, and they knew that that would be nominated. So that was something that they really spent a lot of resource and backing.
Okay,
And then
I
Marriage
do have a
Story as well.
question for
Yeah.
you. Okay,
What's that?
if there was a movie here that you could take out and put in, um, the
Another movie?
and you could
Ooh.
no, but I'm gonna preface this is that you put in the End Game movie from
Ooh, it has to be
Marvel
Endgame.
Endgame. Yes, because you made a
What
good point.
about
You made you
Knives Out?
okay. But I let's do both. I just want to
Okay.
play devil's advocate. If you replace one movie and it's Endgame, okay, which movie would you replace it with?
Marriage Story.
Okay. And if you're going to remove one movie and it would be Knives Out, what would it be?
Probably the same. Probably Marriage Story or 1917.
You would replace it with that movie?
The only reason why I say, well, let's. I don't want to
Because
just
to be
break it
honest,
down.
dude,
I'm
I
gonna
would
say
take out
my
Little
final
Women.
favorite. My fi- Oh, I forgot about Little Women. You know what? I forgot about Little Women, Paul.
And I mean,
Let's say we take out Little Women and Marriage Story, and we put in Endgame, and we put in Knives Out. But I don't. Why isn't Knives Out nominated for anything?
okay, so this is my theory and you asked me to mention it. I think that just like Disney doesn't have a movie listed here, I think it's the Academy is punishing Disney for having the largest box office draw in box office history. I believe that's correct because they had 5 of the top drawing movies this year, and I think it's a personal um like a poke or jab at Disney saying that you might make the most money but we're not going to nominate you because to have a movie that's a common it that is it's a an ending of a 11-year saga where you kill Tony Stark, you kill all these people, and people are crying at the end, and it's not nominated for Best Picture. That is completely insulting. Now, going back to the other gentleman, Ryan Johnson really, in my opinion, aggravated and insulted a lot of movie viewers, and I think he didn't get the nomination because he also upset a lot of people in the Academy because he came out and said very brash, nasty comments, and I think that's still
Oh,
to this day, I think that's hurt himself. That's my personal opinion.
interesting. Yeah, I don't know anything about that. I just think I'm looking at the products without the artist's reputation. I agree that um, that Endgame was a phenomenal movie. I agree that the acting in that movie is worthy of awards. And it definitely would be a precedent shifter to have a superhero movie nominated. And I think that it would be a more interesting year if it was. Um, but with that being said, Joker is nominated, so I don't feel like it's super missing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I agree. I think Endgame should have been nominated, and I do think that Knives Out should have been nominated for Best Picture
See,
because
my argument back to you is that yes, the Joker is um, based on a comic book and it's based on a very historic bad guy, but it's also telling a very normal story. If you just take
oh
it,
yeah, yeah,
if you just
mental
take it that
illness.
he's a bad guy, okay, you just take it off and let's just call it the insane, or just think of some
Mentally ill. He's mentally ill.
the mentally ill. Okay, just call it. Let's call it the mentally ill. Okay, you could still nominate this for Best Picture. Okay, I don't think it has anything to do with it being part of Warner Brothers' historic history of being part of the Batman trilogy. So that's where I'm saying that having Endgame is really it is all about Marvel. It is all about superheroes. So in my
But
opinion,
the acting in it's really good though.
no, no. That's my whole point. Is like you you could have it. You could have it. You could just change like a couple things, like where they call him Joker, right? And it wouldn't be a Joker movie because it still would be the exact same movie, but it's exactly the same movie. Just don't call him Joker. Just call him Tom. Whatever you want to call him. Like
No, I mean,
it's
I'm
still
okay
incredible.
with it being a Joker movie. I think that I mean, I really like that we got an origin story about the Joker. I think he's literally one of the most iconic villains in our modern day history. Like he's the one that everyone knows. So I give him the movie. I agree. I'm happy that that movie is nominated, and I agree that I think that Endgame should be nominated as well.
I guess we both agree that Little Women doesn't rise to the level that the other eight movies
Yeah,
do. And
yeah.
that's I guess my point. You have a thing for Knives Out. I have a thing for Endgame. So I'm just going to say, I'm going to wash it and say that we both think that Little Women is definitely not the movie of the year. In fact, I'm going to give it of the 9 movies listed here, I'm going to give it the Razzie. It's the worst of the top nominated movies. So,
And not even to say that it's a bad movie because it's not a bad movie, and the acting
but it's
is good.
not. But if you're,
It just
let,
is.
but
It's kind of boring.
it's
I was just
just
bored.
not. It's not Best Picture.
Yeah,
I
no, it's
think
not.
it's nominated because we're in a society where, and Hollywood is still promoting that they needed to have a pro woman's movie that was pro.
Agreed, agreed. But at the same time, the actors in this movie are phenomenal. Like you do have like an all star cast in this movie,
No,
and I would expect nothing less from that because of the fact that they're literally doing Little Women, one of the most iconic stories ever. But I mean, Miss Ronan, Emma Watson, Laura Dern, Florence Pugh from Midsommar was in
I
that
don't
movie.
know.
I didn't realize.
I just
And
expected
that's in
more. And the
Timothy
other here
Chalamet.
there's a movie that could have been where's Midsummer? Why is Midsummer?
Midsommar could have totally been nominated
Why
for
is
anything.
Midsummer not on this list, dude? You know what it is that it's between, Parasite is that movie. So if Parasite doesn't exist, Midsummer's on this list.
Maybe you could totally be right, and I mean, this is also now we have to mention the fact that like there are lots of really good movies, and sometimes those really good movies
I know. I
won't be
mean,
nominated for whatever reason.
we don't
But
want our
I
we don't want to lead our listeners forever, but you're right. There's a million. I mean, last year I saw 120 movies. Okay, there could have been a 20-person top nomination for Best Picture. So there's going to be movies always off the list.
yeah,
To me, on your side, you definitely think that Knives Out was rising of Best Picture, and I just am complete. I don't cry that much, and I saw the movie twice, and I outright bawled and cried both times seeing Endgame. Um, that movie is something that is like I didn't feel anything with these movies, like not
it
that
was the
way.
end of an era. It was the
Hmm.
end of an era. But
So
just like Endgame wasn't nominated, so I'm gonna compare. This is a tangent, so we don't have
that's
to
fine.
fully back down this. But like to compare um, Endgame to something like the Harry Potter trilogy, not trilogy, the Harry Potter
Arc or
arc, the series.
mhm.
Um, very similar following. Obviously, Marvel had a more wide base, but Harry Potter had an intense following. I mean, there's an amusement park based around Harry Potter now, multiple. Um, and the final movie in that series did not win an Oscar or nominate for an Oscar. None of them. Obviously, like they're in England and that's a different world and blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, I think that for whatever reason, series movies that come in series are not considered, which is interesting.
Well,
And I could be wrong with
they
that.
also knock movies that are not dramas that are like they. When's the last action hero movie
That
that
aren't intellectual.
right? So
Yeah,
I
I
we
get it.
could like we've been talking about. We could talk about this forever. So all right, it's time to shit or get off the pot, as they say, or it's time to put the fire
Yeah.
out, or it's time to
Time to
get
guess
the
and
bacon.
give
It's time to
our.
bacon. It's time to make the cheese. Whatever. Okay, so again, let's go really quickly. Ford versus Ferrari, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Little Women, The Marriage Story, 1917, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Parasite. Okay, so what we've have decided as a bet is whoever wins the bet. Okay, now if one of our nominations does not win the bet, okay, we call it a tie and it's no one wins. If we both pick the same movie, it's a tie and the bet is null and void. If we pick a different movie, then the bet is that whoever wins and our movie wins, the other person has to buy the other person dinner. Okay? So that's the wager. So we have to one pick different movies and we don't know who each other's picked, and two, our movie has to win this Sunday. So we're gonna do it at
And then we can when we eat dinner we can do like a watch along or something.
yep. And we're gonna do a count of three. So
Okay.
I'm still contemplating. So if you know your movie, just let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready when you're ready.
Whew. Um, and 3, 2, 1, 1917.
Parasite.
Okay.
You said 1917?
Yes.
That's because you're a camera guy, Paul.
Well, I was really concerned that you were gonna say Joker, so I didn't, or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So I really wanted to make sure that I had something different. So I'm really happy that you said Parasite, because if they do win, I think that's going to be a great opportunity for foreign films to have the Oscar. Because when's the last time foreign film has won Best Picture. It's got to be at least 10 years.
I have
So,
no idea.
so I think that would be
I want to hear. I want to hear your reasonings, and then I'll go into mine.
1917, truly because it's an epic story. The Oscars love an epic story. It's about World War II. It's about um, a good a good story about good and evil. It's a true story. They love true stories, and they, you called it out. They love these camera tricks, and the whole movie is supposed to look like it was shot in one camera roll. So
Yeah,
did you
they did a
feel that
phenomenal
way? Did you? Because I
Yeah,
really
no,
felt.
the shots were extremely long and impressive.
I mean, I watched the documentary about it, and they explain that while shooting this movie, if they were doing a portion outside, which 90% is outside,
Yeah,
and the clouds would come up and cover the exposure of the clouds for their scene, they'd actually stop and wait until the sun would come out and it would look exactly the same, and then they would continue. And they would do that so that it looks the same light over and over and over, so it looks like it's one shot. And there are really cool um, unique cuts, using doors and walls and curtains and side angles that, if you're not paying attention, I was specific. I watched the documentary first, so I was really looking for all the cuts because it's hard to see them unless you're paying attention to all the cuts in the movie. So that's what I thought. I just recently saw Paradise
Parasite.
Parasite, and I have a severe reading and writing disability, and sometimes the lower thirds are up slow enough that I can read all of them. But I was telling Yvonne here that the uh, the movie didn't need any there. You didn't even need dialogue because I could tell exactly what's going on. You have a family, and you have another family that's literally taking over the other family, and then all of this other stuff happens, and it's so interesting. um I mean, you picked the movie, so tell me what made
Well,
you
first I want to respond to your statements about 1917.
sure.
I want to talk about 1917
Yeah,
because if
okay.
I could be completely honest and sincere,
Mhm.
I think that 1917 is overrated.
Okay.
Hardcore. Hardcore overrated. The shot angles, the way that they shoot the film, the logistics of it all, like it's very artistic, it's very well done and executed, it's beautiful and indicative of the kind of movie that we're watching, a war movie. But I thought that the plot in itself, um, although I understand the logic and the appeal of having a very simple plot line of we are literally just trying to get from A to B alive to stop this. I thought that it didn't really breed a lot of opportunity for the actors to kind of like expand character. It seemed a little too immediate, and I didn't really care about any of them. Like when the young man dies halfway through the movie, I was confused because I thought that he was the one who I was supposed to root for. And even at that point, I didn't care because the way that they killed him off was like was idiotic. And not to say that the person who actually died that way was an idiot, but up until that point, I didn't establish a relationship with the characters on screen. I didn't think that I really cared about them. So then, when this character makes a fatal mistake, like helping an enemy soldier get out of a burning plane, ultimately just to get stabbed, I didn't feel heartbroken because this character was such a good person. I just felt like, oh, yeah, he's an idiot. Of course, if that's going to happen. Now, the rest of the movie is going to be silent, even more silent, because there's only one person walking in the wilderness now. Like, I don't know. I was very frustrated with the movie. It received a lot of hype, and the shots are beautiful, but I don't think that they're really challenging enough to constitute winning Best Picture.
I
I kind of think that honestly, this movie is on the lower tier of the nominations.
okay. Well, that's why everyone has their own opinion.
Yeah, and 1917 could easily win because it's a story of American history, not American history, of human
Good,
history.
good versus evil.
Good, but we don't even get into the conflict. It's not even good versus evil because we don't. World War I is not something that's publicly like talked about nearly as much as the Second World War because the Second World War is much closer to us, and we have the propaganda and we have all of this knowledge of the Second World War. World War I is not to say a more boring version, but like the conflict isn't readily available to the point where we have an intense opinion about one side of the war. Like you ask any American, what do you think about World War II? They're going to say, well, obviously Nazis are bad, unless they're a Nazi. World War I, we don't necessarily have that because it was more of a European conflict.
Well,
So that we see these.
in all sincerity, dude, it's the Germans invaded most of England, most of Europe. So
Yeah,
Germans.
no,
So
yeah,
it's kind of
I'm not
it's
saying that
kind
it
of the
was a
same.
bad
It's
conflict. It's
no,
just not.
I'm just saying like the Germans were kind of the bad people in both conflicts. So that's also one of the reasons why we had a Second World War, because when we defeated Germany in World War One, we took away all their resources and we split up their country because Germany was much bigger. So
Totally.
maybe it's because I know more
And
about
then they were in
I know more
economic
about history.
ruin,
I
and
just
Germany was in economic ruin, and then
right,
they backlash, and then World War II
exactly,
happened.
exactly.
But the whole point is that World War II is the crux of that conflict. World
Yes.
War One is the before, and just because World War I was epic and World War I was violent and World War I was sad, doesn't mean that 1917 and the story of these two young men traveling is interesting enough to win an Oscar. Like it's a great story. It's a great story, but at the end of the day, I thought that it was a war movie with decent acting. The acting was good, but the movie was silent for the majority of the time. Like they were just walking in wilderness with these really beautiful camera shots. And that doesn't really inspire an actor. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
I'm watching this, I'm like, yeah, well, great. And like there's these stunts and there's all these people and all this resources and explosions, but at the end of the day, what is the story? I don't care. And
All valid
that's just
comments,
how I feel.
dude. Um, uh,
So that was my opinion on 1917.
I'm just looking at
I think
here,
Parasite.
but
Sorry.
just looking at the field. I mean, I I could easily break down every movie and say why I think that that's the one they're gonna buy. But I definitely want your opinion on the movie you picked. So, but it just seems like it's the movie that had no drama associated with it. Like every other one is
Which one?
1917. Like
Oh, drama,
like
about how it represents people.
yeah, like it's not like it's not a foreign film, so you can't say that most Americans haven't seen it. It doesn't have a language barrier, or it's not too violent.
It's the shoe in. It's the shoe in pick.
Yeah, that's what I'm
It,
saying.
but in my opinion, I think it's the boring pick. I think it's the pick that should not be picked because I think Irishman should win over 1917. I think
But I don't think that's
Jojo
gonna win.
Rabbit.
But it,
I think Jojo Rabbit should win over 1917.
but Jojo Rabbit wouldn't win.
Literally everything except
But
Marriage
here,
Story
but
won
I can say why
and
it
Ford
doesn't
v
win, because
Ferrari.
I don't think Jojo Rabbit's not going to win is because they're not going to get over the simple fact that it's supposed to be a mockery or a parody of the Reich, and they're
No,
going to focus on and they're
I think
focused.
that
They're
it
going
could.
to
Sorry.
no. I think that the people that are voting are in their 60s and 70s, and they're not our age. They're not in their early 20s or late 30s, and they're not going to see that it's a mockery. So they're gonna think that they're gonna vote thinking that we're trying to make light of it, and we're not making fun of it. So they're not going to give it like
I
Jojo's
don't know. I
Rabbit.
mean, farces have existed for a long time,
Oh, I
Paul.
know. But like they would have they never gave Life of Brian a nomination for Best Picture, and that was an incredible movie when it came out, and that was
I thought
complete.
Life of Brian won. Oh no, no, Best Picture, a Green Book one. Never
Right.
mind. I lied.
So I'm just saying. Um, I definitely I want your opinion on this. So you picked Parasite. So why do you think Parasite is going to win?
I think Parasite is going to win because it the ensemble is phenomenal. Every single person on that screen, including the little kid, they're all phenomenal actors. I bought everything that they said. I enjoyed all of them in the movie. I cared about them. There was something about all of their vibes and their connection where even when they were doing something bad, like the two other families, I cared about what was going on. Um, and I felt bad for the older man who turned out to be locked up his entire life. And
Uh,
then the twist ending? No, the movie is just superior to all of the other ones. Parasite, in my opinion, is the smartest, the best shot, and the best performed movie on this list.
I
I
mean,
think that they beat out 1917 in every way. I think that they definitely beat out Little Women and Marriage Story. The ones that I think would contend with Parasite would be Jojo Rabbit and Joker.
but I have a bad feeling that they're going to have that bad reaction that the media did with Joker and say that it promotes violence and that it's not about it has nothing to do with it
Parasite?
no the Joker that the Joker I think
Oh, yeah.
if it didn't have that bad media report that it was causing violence and everything, I think it's probably the movie of the year. But I think that it's got a really bad rap, even though
It definitely has gotten a really bad rap.
and it's
And
ridiculous
I think
because
that it's
no one's
unfortunate.
gonna go out and murder people because they go see that movie. I mean, it's just
Well, you know
a
what though? We
farce.
don't know that. We don't know that. There are a lot of very, afflicted people out there. We don't know that. I think that it's unfortunate because at the end of the day, acting is telling a story.
But that's not the
And
root, dude.
sometimes
But that's
telling
not the
sorry.
root. I mean, we have years of data when it comes to movies and to video games, and
No, I'm agreeing with you,
you
Paul. What
have
I'm
to be
saying is at
down
the end of
that.
the day, acting is about telling stories. And unfortunately, Joaquin Phoenix is telling the story of a bad guy, and
Right.
sorry,
No, no,
and
I know.
he's getting a bad rap for it, and so is the movie.
And I think that's why they won't give it Best Picture because they don't want that drama associated. So I think that Parasite is.
That would be stupid though, but I feel you.
Uh,
If I don't know if I agree that that would be the reason it doesn't win. But
and
you could be right. You could
and
totally be right.
and no disrespect, but they don't like giving movies to the gentleman who wrote and directed Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. They don't like him. So even though his movie was incredible and it's made it in a way that you don't make movies that way where you shut down an entire block and you make it look like 1970. Um, they're not going to give him a movie because they think he's an asshole. Um, so
Yeah, we knew that because that movie's phenomenal too.
I know, but there's a lot of politics going into this. So, okay, so that was a good discussion. All right, so to sum things up, your bet is Parasite, and my bet is 1917. Let the best person win. If
Can you give me your order and like your favorite movies, like
oh
what you
top
think is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6?
oh sure, um okay, so I want to make sure that people understand. I picked the movie that I think would win the movie based on politics. This is my opinion of the top 5 movies based.
Politics aside, who do you think would win?
That's what. So politics aside, I think Best Picture is Joker, and then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, um, Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, and if we're left with these movies, 1917. I'm not very motivated by Marriage Story, Little Women, or Parasite. It's a good movie in my opinion, but it's just not. If we're gonna go from a clean slate, and any movie that is made in 2019, I would definitely have some people. I would definitely have Knock Knock. Uh, we just talked about this movie last time.
Yeah, you did mention that
Yeah,
one.
yeah. So that movie would definitely be my number five. And we need
Okay,
to do a watch along or watch it. Just have the two of us because I think it's a
we'll do
great.
that. Whoever ends up winning will get it.
Yeah, yeah. So
So then mine would be Parasite is number one, and I think that I am putting politics. Well, no, I'm not putting politics aside. I think that hopefully this movie is appreciated enough to the point where it will win, even though it's a foreign film. Um, and then after Parasite, I would say it, it would be between Joker and Jojo Rabbit. Then after those two, it would be between it would be The Irishman, then uh, Once Upon a Time, and Ford v Ferrari.
okay.
And then I would leave out Little Women, Marriage Story, and 1917,
So you did enjoy.
and put in Knives Out.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I was gonna say, where's your knives? So, but you really enjoyed versus Fiara.
Ford v Ferrari. I think that it was a pretty good movie. Matt Damon really did that,
He's
and
such a
I
great
wasn't a
actor, isn't
huge.
he?
He's phenomenal. He's so good.
You know,
He's so good.
he wows me every single time.
Yeah, he's
Like
so
y-
fucking good. Oh my
I
gosh.
I love him in the Bourne series, but
Oh
then
yeah, yeah, yeah.
um then he goes off and does a movie like this. So he's got such a wide range of, you know. I'm so thankful we have
Yeah.
so many great actors.
And I will say, Marriage Story is really good, really, really good movie. And I loved that both of the actors sang, and I liked the structure of the film, and I'm glad that they are receiving some recognition because it is worthy of that. It wasn't as as jarring or as like activating as the other ones I picked.
I mean, in all sincerity, the actual act of getting divorced is not something that anyone really wants to like be involved. So it's a very
Not
depressing.
even that. I just
Oh,
felt like
okay.
some of the moments were in like they weren't genuine. They were
Oh, okay.
very
You didn't feel that at
uh,
all. Okay.
there were some. Obviously, there were a lot of moments I loved. Like Scarlett Johansson really blew me away in this movie, but
Well,
the
I
scenes
told
in which they're arguing with each other, it just some of it seemed like something I would see in one of my theater classrooms.
I told you in our review. I don't find Driver to be the most incredible actor in the world. You know,
I
I
loved him as Kylo Ren, though.
I don't know, dude. Like
You disagree?
yeah, like to be honest, like you know, is he more? He's like, we're gonna go back to this. Is it the fault of the actor, or is it the fault of the script that you make him into a whiny, prissy little bitch?
Well, I
I
mean,
think that's more the problem of the script and not the actor. So I'm not. That's why I don't necessarily like. I really did like him in the show on HBO, playing the little like scummy little boyfriend. But um, to me, his roles haven't really diversed. He seems like he's still playing aside the Star Wars thing. He's
yeah,
still
he's
playing
still
these.
establishing.
Yeah, I would like to see where he goes. I think his range, just like specifically you have such opportunities. Your range could be so much more, and I look forward to seeing your range and driver's range because
Thanks to
right now his specific range, I just feel it's narrow. He's playing the same character, even like Kylo Ren. It's the same kind of like bushy haired guy. Like I
you want to see more
I want him to
diversity.
shave his fucking hair off and like play like some. I want him to play a psychotic person, dude. Like he just seems like he plays like this. Oh, woe is me, woe is me. Like
That's funny.
do you see like? Wouldn't it be awesome? Like I see so much range in it. It just seems like, I watched a couple of those round robin um, focus interviews on YouTube where they actually had Driver and they had um, Matt Damon there, and they also had a couple other big act. I mean, it was a huge, and he just seemed like the one that was out of place. Um, so I I hope, because he's the future. I really hope that there's more range coming, and I hope there is. So if
I
not,
believe.
if not, dude, you can just blow him away when you get there. So
Thanks, dude. Um. So yeah, I hope that Parasite wins.
yeah.
Hardcore.
So don't forget, guys. Oscars are Sunday night. At I believe 7 or 8 o'clock. Let's verify that for our guests before we call it a night. The Oscars are at 8 p.m. on ABC. So Sunday night, 8 p.m., that means that if you have cable, that means you can also turn over to the E Network and watch the red carpet special at 7 o'clock, which is really cool. So I would encourage everyone to get some popcorn, get everything, turn on E Network at 7 o'clock, watch the red carpet special, and then at 8 o'clock, jump over to ABC and watch the Oscars, and I hope the best man wins. Wink, wink.
That's like,
All right, guys, we're gonna do our recap about a week later, so stay tuned, and I hope you guys enjoy our preview of the Oscars. For Paul the photographer, Yvonne the actor, we are out, and we will see you soon.
deuces.